Right, well, welcome everybody. Cold and frosty evening to come. So the first item on the agenda is the apologies for absence. I see we've got one there from Malcolm. Accepted by everybody?
Yeah.
Declarations of interest?
With regard to the leases up for renewal, CWA is a friend of mine.
Okay. Right. Representations from interested parties. We don't seem to have any. Okay. Minutes of the previous meeting then. You're here, have you read them? You happy with them? Okay. Everything's accepted. Sorry, proposed that, yes, okay, then get the...
Sorry,
I wasn't there.
You,
I'm proposing it.
you proposed and you seconded. Yeah. All in favour? Okay. So the first item on the agenda then is to receive the update on the new workshop. I hope everybody's read the bits and pieces that we've got. So does anybody have any questions on the question?
Yes, I have.
Go ahead.
Who's our project manager? Councils.
Right. Lisa, was it yourself or Emma?
I'm currently getting all the costs together, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose me. Emma's handed most of it over to me now.
Yes. Yes,
So it's
there's
me
a
that's dealing-
transition going on.
Yeah.
Because you are the new project
So
manager.
it's a bit of both of us really at the moment.
So when there's a problem on site,
When
when there's a problem on site, as there will be,
yeah.
of some sort, you're the one that
Well, we
that
did
they're gonna
discuss
come
this,
to.
didn't we, a while ago, whether we actually needed to employ a project manager, but I think between Waterland Associates and this Neen Construction Management Company, they, from what I've seen, they seem to have everything covered, because the construction design, the CDM plan is the health and safety thing that is a legal requirement, and that's what Waterland said he wouldn't be happy if we didn't do.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't either. So I think between the two of them, I think Emma and I, our feeling is, let's see how it goes, and if we're struggling, then we might have to reconsider. But I think we should be okay.
So my understanding from reading this is that Waterlands, in the terminology you're using, are the project managers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought your question was a little bit, well, okay, they're there, the contracted project manager, who's our internal?
Yes.
Yeah, so Lisa is our internal.
Okay.
Waterland are the project managers,
Yeah.
like, to be held to account.
And he is very helpful, so I think if Emma and I are struggling on anything, I think if we just speak to him, I think he'll be...
Yeah.
Well, I think you need that level of professional support
Yes.
on a project like this.
Yes,
You shouldn't be trying to
No.
rely on just the council staff, I don't think. in my
No.
opinion.
No, definitely not.
He's actually very keen to get work from the council
Is it?
as well. And he's tried many times and at last succeeded. And so I think he would be keen not to mess up in any way. to be honest. I mean, I haven't heard it from his lips, but I know he's tried several times.
And can we, this is within our limit for approving within this committee, is it?
Yes.
Okay. So the other thing that came to my mind when I read through this was the overall project plan, because we're moving towards the full budget and the approval for doing the whole project. Have we got a document with that laid out in it?
No, Emma and I had a conversation this afternoon, because I think she said in the budget they'd allocated 50,000. We're looking at, with some of the costs, Emma thinks it's going to be more like 65. We did a quick kind of add up based on some of the figures that we've got. We haven't got, I'm still in the process of getting quotes, but once we've got all of those, based on some of the ones we've had, we think it'll be more like 65. But as soon as I get the quotes in, then I can do a list.
I think the important thing is that when we bring it to full council is we've got a business case,
Yeah.
effectively, isn't it? So that we, if we're going to pay this money,
Exactly.
how much is it going to cost us to per year to repay it, and how does that compare with what our lease costs are?
With some of the quotes that we found on file, obviously it's like a year and a half ago that we got these quotes, so I'm having to phone them and say, and then today we had a meeting with the electrician, and we're not sure, it's called, is it 3-phase or single phase, and it depends on what we want in the workshop, so we're going to have to get 2 quotes anyway for both of those avenues. We've only got the single phase quote at the moment, and then obviously it's based on what happens with the gas, electric, the water. Yeah, so I'm just in the process of trying to get quotes for those, and I'm assuming that we need 3 quotes from everybody. So like the groundworks, digging the trenches, and all those sort of things. We need 3 comparable quotes, don't we? So it's going to take some time getting all of those together. Based on what information Hanneke had given me, I think she was struggling to get people to come back to her, because on one of her memos it said still awaiting quotes, still awaiting quotes. So I think it's going to be one of those things where I'm going to have to be on the phone chasing them all the time to get them in. But yeah, we're we've made a start on it, so hopefully things will run smoothly.
Yeah. So in terms of putting a bit of an outline plan together, it would be useful if you could do something like that for us.
Yeah.
So we knew which cycle it was going into the council, the general, because I assume it's going to come here before it goes to the council itself.
Oh yeah, I would have thought so. Seems
In your own sort of feel for it now, where do you think that would be? Is that next month, or is that 2 or 3 months down the line from where we
what,
are?
going to full council?
Well, to come back to here.
To come back to here first. Well, I intend to start. I've started a little bit at the end of last week. Where are we? Tuesday. So hopefully this week I can crack on and get. So I would say within a month.
Okay.
Probably by the next estates meeting, I'm hoping to have.
Oh, it would be very good. So if you want some help ahead of that, I'm sure Jerry would, and well, any of us.
Hospital pass there.
No, turn this out if you do want to.
Yeah. It's only just in terms of the formalities, but yeah. So please just ask.
Yeah, I will.
Rather than come here and then have a whole bit of bombarded with questions.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, I will ask. Yeah.
I think, that's where I've come from in the past when we discussed this. I think we need to have the full costed project as best as we can, plus some contingency probably for when things go wrong, like you say, and then compare that with what the costs are today and make sure it still stands up as the right thing to do financially.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's nothing else to do. Well, do we have to formally approve those?
Yes,
So
please.
Proposal then? A proposal to approve these to Terry? And second, Val? And all in favour? Get on and spend it.
Well, I guess, we don't actually spend it, do we, until, unless we press go on the whole project, do we? So they won't,
No, because it's sort of.
well, the
Stage
CDM,
payments, aren't they?
we won't pay the CDM bit, will we, until,
No, I don't know. I don't know what their terms are.
I assume they want
Because they
stage
have-
payments.
Yeah, probably because they have to do the plan to start off with, don't they?
Yeah.
And then manage it.
And we should also look at some contingency fee at the end,
Yes.
withhold 5% or something until we're happy.
Yeah.
I mean, the big lion's share of the work is this draw contract and administer a formal building contract to completion, including any defects liability. So we're not going to spend all that unless we actually go ahead and do it.
No, yeah.
Okay. Now income. I like income. So next one is to consider the increase in the charges to the Christmas market.
Yes, it's a couple of years ago I think that we increased them, and we were told that we were considerably cheaper than the food festival.
Okay.
And they had spoken to me about upping their pitch fee to 150, which I knew straight away we couldn't do that. It's a massive jump.
Yeah.
And plus the fact we have craft and catering, so I think there'd be a few arguments, so I don't think we can do that. But I had a word with Emma and we came up with increasing it by £14 for the non-catering and £16 for the catering.
Discussion, everybody?
Is it just to raise more revenue, or is there are we too popular? Do we want to?
Just
stop?
lots of people have said we're undercharging. I mean, the market is now paying for itself. It's bringing income in now. So yeah, perhaps just to raise the revenue for us, really.
If we've not increased it for a few years,
It's 2 years. I think it was 2
2
years ago. It was
years,
2016 when we first.
And although percentage-wise it looks crazy, you know, in actual pound notes,
It's nothing,
not-
yeah.
nothing, is it?
No.
The only observation I would have of being there this year was that we seem to have an awful lot of food stalls.
I've been trying over.
People to-
Yeah.
And that's what other people have said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since I started it, that's one of the things that's been said. So we've been trying to increase the craft stalls and those kind of things. It's sometimes quite difficult to get them.
Yeah. I'm telling you.
So the food, sorry.
Well, I was going to say, we do have a lot of food stalls, but they all seem to be busy.
They
and-
do really
and
well.
It's very popular, isn't it?
It is,
So-
yeah.
Mm.
And well, I mean, I think, was it yet last year or the year before? The year before, I went through all the magazines, you know, the glossy magazines, the interior magazines and all those sort of things, and phoned lots of people, and they were either busy. I think the thing is, what we have to do is do it really early on in the year, because people book their diaries up and they've got big events like Burley and things like that.
There's a weird online craft world as well, isn't there? So my wife's vaguely involved in it.
Well, that's why it was quite good to get that craft Hochanda
But
involved.
there's all
last
sorts
year,
of
so-
online things you can say, I want to do something on the 1st of whatever, and it says here at the event. Do you want to find out some of the names?
Yeah,
On their
that'd be good.
websites.
Yeah, that'd be
What was
great.
the benefit from the Chandler then? What's good about it?
Well, they compared it all day, which was great, because they were telling people where to go for what and what was happening in the Queen Victoria Hall and all that sort of thing. And then towards the countdown, they were giving away loads of gifts and playing games. And it just made the atmosphere a lot, you know, more fun kind of thing. I think it did, and I've had lots of good feedback about it. So,
Are they talking about supporting it again next year?
well, my email to them thanking them was saying next year to the Elf girls and all of them. I just said, can you book us in for next year as well? You know.
Because they are a professional, they are a sort of a company, they're not,
They
they're
are.
not doing it for charity.
No, but it was quite.
So I think we've got to be a bit careful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gaining from it.
Well, we are from
Yeah.
I think it was just a mutually beneficial arrangement. To be fair, it didn't cost us anything,
Yeah.
and they gave away lots and lots of prizes. So I think, you know,
I mean,
their input into it, I think, was quite extensive. I was quite surprised how much effort they put into it.
I mean, they're treating it as a promotion, effectively, aren't they? It's
Yeah.
promoting their business, but so they're getting some advertising benefit and some promotional benefit out of it, which they obviously
Absolutely.
felt, and also supporting the community.
Yeah,
that
well,
they're
and that's
as
it,
well,
because they're
which I guess-
local. That's what they
yeah,
wanted
yeah.
to do. That's how they approached it.
Sorry, Val, you've got a bit of a concern with them.
I am concerned.
Yes,
yeah.
go on.
But because in a way it became their event. I mean, I'm passing on comments that people have made.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
You know, some people were quite nonplussed, shall I say, by it, because it became a Chanda event, not a town council event.
Right.
So I think we've got to be a bit careful because we could upset other people. and,
Right. Okay. Yeah.
It's okay.
bear in mind.
So even with this increase, we're still a long way away from where the food festival are. A long
Well,
way.
I don't know, tried to get online actually to see, because when I actually had a meeting with Rowan at the Talbot, I said, what are you going to charge? And she said, I can't remember off the top of my head. She said, check on the website, but I couldn't get on the website on the day. But I think she's around about 95. That's what she was last year. I'll have to double check it, but
So
certainly if she's put it up to over 100, I don't think we can do it in line with her.
but could we squeeze another 5% on top of this? 20% now, 25%. So it was easier to get it than wait a few years and try and catch up.
Well, I'll check on her website or phone her and see. I've got the impression that she's got more than one price, which I don't know why that would be, because they're all catering. So do you want me to check what their price is, and then if it is higher than that, bring it more in line with that? Would that be
Well-
the consensus of opinion?
I would like us to get 25% increase.
Okay.
These are commercial people, aren't they?
Well, obviously some of the craft stores are tiny little one-man bands that are just coming along. Others
Yeah,
are
I
big.
know it's quite expensive if you're a small craft
Yeah.
and you spend 10, 20 quid for a pitch, which might be why we don't get any craft offers.
Yeah.
To be quite honest, I'm happy that these guys have come up with a number. You know, when you talk about your 25%, you're about £3 more than they've come in with here. But rather than go back for £3, you know, sort of, I would like to encourage them to say, yeah, you're running your business, you think this is the right number.
Well, that was my question.
Yeah.
Do you think we could get 25%? I think I
Well, I
said.
don't, because I'm not selling stalls. These guys are. You know, they're the ones selling the stalls, aren't they? The only reason I asked the question previously about the number of food stalls we were is whether we were pushing out the small people. You know, and you know, not for this meeting here, but you know, at some point towards Christmas, you know, we might want to think about doing some concessions for charities and for the smaller organisations, just to give it a bit more variety and personal touch. But this is a conversation about, is this? I mean, that looks like it's a 20% increase, and you're talking 25%, aren't you? So
Yeah.
yeah, we're happy with 20. Just say we'll go with 20.
What do we charge the smaller stores in Victoria Hall?
That's still the same.
So they're charging them 70 currently?
It was 70, yeah. We
okay.
did, for the first year, to try and encourage people to be happy to go in there, we did it half price.
Right.
But we did say to them, it will be up to the normal,
Right.
because although it's not entirely a 10-foot by...
So the food festival are
3 by
charging
3,
between
105,
85
yeah.
and 130, depending on the size of the
Size.
stall and if it's a vehicle or not. So we're not out of ballpark, we're
No,
about right.
yeah, okay.
In some respects, I'm surprised that the little craft stores can make it pay at that. Because, I mean, the food ones, like, they're turning over all the
A
time.
lot,
They're
yeah.
just, you can see them, they're selling stuff all day long. The little craft stores.
It's a lot of little trinkets to sell, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there was one. I think there was one in the Queen Vic that was doing it. It was a charity stall. Yeah, I did feel bad for him. Because he wasn't selling things I wanted to buy. But,
Yeah.
yeah, so you're quite right. He'd have to sell an awful lot of his jigsaws to make this pay. Right, how do we move this then? It feels we ought to go a little bit higher.
Well, could we go? I mean, to me,
So, Paul,
Good evening.
Oh, yeah.
How are we?
don't really have
You
much
may-
evidence for this. It seems like the food stalls, you could probably get away with charging £100 for the catering people, but I'm not surprised we're struggling to sell the non-catering, especially the little stalls. At 70 to 84, you might just get some of them off.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't know.
So did you go with a split price of maybe 100 for catering and 50 for none to encourage diversity? Or too complex?
Or leave the non-catering alone as it is at 70 and go with them with all the food stalls. I say I'm not got any evidence for this. It's just that's just what it feels like to me.
It's a tricky one.
Anybody else?
Quite happy with them the way they're proposed here.
Yeah.
It's gone up, and it's gone up quite a bit. I think that, in my view, that's sufficient, I think, for this year.
Yeah, I think the question is whether we do something special for the non-catering and make it more attractive. Possibly we need to put this to one side for this meeting rather than take the numbers
Okay,
and think of a slightly different formula.
okay.
Yeah. So what's in my mind is for the genuine charities that we might want to be encouraging them in with a real bargain offer it. Because they, there's no doubt about it, they do offer a lot of variety to what goes on.
Yeah.
Many of them can't afford the even £70.
Now, I must admit, I've had a few sort of one-man band people express interest, and then when I've sent them the forms and the information, they've come back and said, no, we can't afford to do that.
Yeah.
And that's the small craft people.
One thing on the small craft fairs do is they charge a very low rate and then a percentage.
Yeah.
So if you have a good day, great. If you have a bad day, you haven't lost anything. So
Right, yeah.
Very,
Plus they're
very hard
obviously-
to work that one.
It
isn't
is really hard to
Everyone's
work that one, yeah.
I'm a very trusty.
Terry, do you want to be part of thinking, taking this discussion out of this room and we'll before the next meeting we'll come up with something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe you and Lee. Okay.
There's no problem with that in terms of you won't be getting people applying yet. In terms
Oh,
of
I've already had about 6 applications.
Okay. so what have you told them?
I've just said to them, I've warned
We'll stick with for them.
I've warned them that there might be a slight change on the price list. So
Okay.
As long as that's not causing problems. Yeah.
no.
So Lizzie, if you could set something up with Terry and myself, if you put an invite to us.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks. Right, approve the expenditure of the purchase of Hubstaff shirts and things. Right, sure we've got some input on this one.
Yeah, yeah.
Actually, before we do that, do you want to do the cycle stands? Because Paul's with us.
Oh, okay then.
He's just snuck in, so
excited by it.
Paul.
Yeah.
So if we
Sorry, I'm going to say on that.
For doing
Can
that.
you do dishwashers as well?
Well, possibly.
Okay, yeah, let's move on to the cycle stand. Yeah, so, it is a great one, isn't it? We've got some money to spend, and we're not spending it fast.
Well, there's
Where
two
you-
things, aren't there? There's your money and our money.
Yeah, your money now.
Yeah, we brought our proposal to the council, can't remember when it was now, it must have been at least 8 months ago, I think, something like that, where we brought an outline proposal for cycle racking. At the time, we didn't have any funds to do it. We've applied for funding to do it. We've now got a 2/3 funding grant from Eastern Lancashire County Council, and some outline views of what we were going to do. We'd had a discussion with the Highways Department to look at where would be suitable. So we had a number of places that were that we thought might be suitable for parking. Now, I do have copies of the original presentations, and that's probably a little while back now since you've actually had a chance to look at it. So I don't know, I've got enough for everyone.
That's all right. But is this one you did with Ali Wimble?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
That's okay.
yeah, I was away skiing at the moment, so sorry, I've only got
Seen through
copies. Yeah, but probably the important page is page 3, which shows you the proposed sites. And the reality is, having talked with Highways, there's only really 2 sites that they actually deem as being suitable. One of them was opposite what is now the Greedy Pig, rather than Smith's at number 4.
Site 1, yeah.
Which is site 1. Site 2 is sort of moved along a bit behind the bus shelter, as opposed to being at the end where it originally proposed it.
Marketplace bus shelter.
What they'd also said was that the cycle racks that were at the moment outside of Tesco's, Highways deemed as being a bit marginal.
There's only one of them.
Very wonky
The
one.
other one took a bash.
What I don't know is whether I'd seen a picture of that and thought that someone would run into it, because it was actually a skip from the move out of NatWest Bank.
Was
which,
it?
Oh, was it?
you know, NatWest Bank, or I think whether it was McGeorge or whomever they hired, should actually pay
Pay
for
for it.
correcting that.
Yes.
Because it's been damaged now since NatWest Bank is gone.
Yeah.
So however, we proposed that there was going to be more of the same sort of racking in there, and they won't let us do that. However, we could replace the ones that are there. suggest.
Some sort of soft foam.
Yeah.
Beating all that.
Well, yeah, it's a skip, and they were just moving the skip out, is my understanding, is why it came down.
It's been whacked again, I think it's now on the floor.
Yeah. So,
Is the one outside the coffee tap going to get some grief from Thursday market traders?
it's not going to be there, it's going to be moved along actually, yeah. And
Oh, right,
potentially
okay.
could be removable as well, is what we get actually.
Okay.
Ian and I walked round town with Neil Holland from
In the rain.
from
East
Northants,
Mhm.
and the actual guy who's going to supply the racking, which is a professional architectural street furniture company in Corby. So we looked at it from that perspective. Now, so we've got two sites. However, we also actually spec'd out, I think, something like 6.8 K's worth of potential racking, and have got 2/3 funding for that. So what we don't want to do, obviously, is to lose the funding.
No.
Now, I wrote to Ian and suggested an alternative. I think it might be an idea to put one at Barnwell Park. Now, I know that's it's in your auspices,
It's
is it?
not our money, it's not our
No, it's not in your auspices, but actually does have an impact from a town perspective.
think
and
they'll
I-
be delighted.
I've spoken with Ed, well, not spoken with Ed, but I've emailed Edward, who's on the Parks Committee there.
Friends of, yeah.
And he's quite keen to talk about it. So we could put one in there. The other suggestions I had was that, or maybe actually we do have some temporary racking as well, which we could use for events like, we're organising the Vintage Festival at the moment. We could use it for the food festival, or we could use it for.
But that'd be freestanding.
Yeah, it would be just like, take it out, put it up, it's there. If you're organising a cycle event, it can be available for those sorts of things.
Can I just ask a question, a technical question? As an example, the rack that you've got in the drawing opposite number 4, as used to be, it's now something rather thingy. How many cycles would you think would accommodate?
It could accommodate up to 12 bikes on that rack outside there, because
So
of the,
which way round would they be?
yeah, it's a different rack to those that you're normally used to seeing, because I actually hang the bike from the saddle. Now if you go, there's a coffee shop called Cafe Bon 2 out in the sticks in Leicestershire, and they specifically target cyclists.
Yeah.
And actually, if you go there, they've got these racks there, primarily because the density of the parking is much better. Now, we have talked about also giving the opportunity, because Neil Holland from County said, well, actually, what about, if you've got a shopper or a kid's bike? Or,
That's your bike's like mine.
yeah.
I tested my bike.
So we've come up with an alternative design where we would have some sort of normal, what they call Sheffield, the hoop racks are like, called Sheffield racks, on the ends of one, like opposite Smith's, where it will be in situ.
Yeah.
So, really, tonight what I wanted to do was just sort of have a discussion about it, really, and see what you think, because clearly, I'd be ashamed to lose the money, so we've got some money we could spend.
What's your timescale on that? When does that?
Well, I think we need to commit to using it before the end of March. So we need to place some order with.
You think it is, or is that what they've said?
Well, I'd need to go back to the grant people, but that's what it's
Well,
granted in this
On
budget.
this one, it said that the money had to be used within 5 years of June 2014.
Yes,
Oh, is that
So that's
not
June.
much.
That's
June
out,
this
yeah.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've got to get on with it.
Well,
haven't
that's a separate. Isn't that a separate grant? Though? That's the money the council is given, and this is money that the business association has raised.
Most of these racks seem to be 3 metres long. The length of a bike which is crosswise onto that, you're talking at least a couple of metres, if not, you're hanging them off centre, and you'll have some hanging one way by their saddles and some hanging the other. you're going to have something like a 3 metre width as well. So you're looking at something like 9 square metres
That's what I was
of
thinking.
space on the floor.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
the square
yeah.
area of what you're taking up. That's a mighty big space wherever you put it.
For the one opposite the Greedy Pig,
Thinking
it's
about the
dead
pavement
space.
space, because we've got very narrow,
Yeah, it
very narrow
it is a
pavement.
dead space, but I believe there's a problem with underground services there.
There is, that's why we've got what we've got there. It's the
Yeah,
only
because
thing
that was
we've got.
attempted before.
Yeah.
And the reason that there is what there is there is because there were some underground services which makes that pretty fragile to go drilling down and putting in anything too
It's the only
substantial.
sort of thing they would let us have. Having said that, that doesn't,
But
it's
then look-
off the floor, so
Yeah.
they can still have access to the
Yeah,
underneath.
that's one the highways approved,
Yeah.
isn't it?
That could probably
But if
be,
they've
that could probably be
approved it,
fitted
that
around
might be
whatever is
better.
underneath there, it could probably be
Yeah.
worked.
Yeah.
And that is one area where you have got some space, but 9 square metres is still an awful lot of space.
But there's two here that I would like us to get going on as quick as we can. You know, so the first, the two that you've mentioned. You know,
Well, I think that there are areas where, the one behind the bus shelter we would make removable anyway, so you could take it out.
So there'd just be 2 holes in the ground, the frame.
Yeah, if you weren't using it, there would be 2 holes in the ground, so, you know, it wouldn't be something that's there permanently anyway.
And who would do that? Who would look after the putting them in
Well,
and
that's the other thing
taking
with
them out?
highways,
Because
they would
that's-
want the council to look after it the
Well-
same way you look after the bollards, basically.
Well, men don't work Sundays, do they?
No, but you know, you're not going to be taking this out every Sunday, are you? You know, you just.
We're taking it out once a week for the market.
Yeah,
Because
which
that
maintenance could do
space
that,
is
couldn't they?
already-
Because they
yeah.
do maintenance to be able to do
It's
that.
only for the market.
And you want something else filling the hole, you don't want
There'd
two
be
holes.
there'd be other cap, wouldn't they? Like the same as the bollard.
It's a Pucker company, it's Mason and Amstad, if you look them up, they do, you know, Milton Keynes, they've
Yeah.
done a whole,
Yeah,
I think 300 bike shed for Milton Keynes station, so it's not a sort of
Yeah. And
two-bit
you know,
company that
see,
we're looking to use.
You have to remember that this is a scheduled area that we're talking about here. We can't just put whatever we want in anywhere,
No, okay.
because
But
it's
if we
listed
can,
buildings.
yeah, if we can
and-
move this forward to the next round then.
So we've got to be
You know,
careful.
if we could say we've got 2 here that we've got sites for,
Hmm.
yeah, highways are happy, highways are happy with those 2 sites. So that, highways have already said that
Oh,
they're
this
happy,
one.
they're happy with the one
Yeah.
by Laxton School and the one that's not where it's shown there, but just behind
Right by the middle of the
building,
bus shelter.
by the bus shelter.
Mhm.
So, yeah, highways have already looked at those 2, so
And-
they're happy with them,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Oh, you-
Those, I've got, you know, emails from them saying that's what they
But they
would.
would have to be the temporary ones.
Yes, so really, the design is that it can be put in and taken out.
The one behind the bus shelter would be temporary, the one opposite Smith's would be a permanent
Yeah,
fixture.
all right, so there's
Or
no
not
reason, no need to take it.
Greedy Pig.
Yeah, all right.
So where
Yeah,
else?
because, I mean, I'm keen on this one in the sense that we actually put it there
Mm.
because we wanted to encourage people to cycle down to the bus
Mm.
and then catch the bus.
Yeah.
That was
Well, yeah, absolutely. I
that
you
was
could,
the thinking.
I think you said that
It's
you'll have
being
some
keen on
additional
that
money
side.
so that, you know, you could
Yeah.
possibly be more ambitious with that and do something.
But
and
the
you can
problem
get
we
like-
have is
Yeah.
the underneath is the sort of thing.
Right.
And
So-
it's
so-
underneath.
Do we have a general consensus that we should take the first 2 through to the next phase?
Yeah, what is the next phase?
Well, the next phase is go to planning, isn't it, with it? The funding's already, from what I can see, the funding's already here, isn't it? I mean, how much?
We've got the, well, it's 2/3 funded, and from a business association perspective, we would say, we were looking to see whether we can raise some additional funds from the, from our traders.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you know, what's actually been approved is less beneficial than we'd originally thought, so I don't know whether the Greedy Pig would sponsor it, because it is opposite them. They may do.
Stagecoach one for a second.
You know, or alternatively, I think you said you had some potential
Well,
funds as
what I
well.
see here, there's £7,000 here, £7,006 we have. We've already taken it off ENC, it's in our bank account.
Yeah?
Do we need to spend before June?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
What should we do?
20th
is
of
that
June we've
enough?
got
Is
to.
that enough to get a couple of these going?
That's more than enough to get a couple of them go, because we're, with our grant as well, if you could match fund what those two,
Yeah.
then that would.
Is there a need for, what's the cycle parking like up here? I know my bike was.
Yeah, I was just going to ask that.
Has the library got anything?
Oh, that's the other thing I was.
Because the library and Fletton House could do with a
Yeah.
shelter.
Yeah.
Both, one of each, if we put all
Yeah.
the money together and make.
They have though,
4
haven't they? That
places.
the library
Yeah.
one's got a wooden shelter, and that one's got a plastic perspex thingy one.
Right.
I
Have you already
don't
got
know what
bike,
condition.
bike parks here then?
I think it's a bike rack.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's a bike rack with the perspex one, the one there.
Right, yes.
Yeah, and then the one at the library is a wooden shed type thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
They've got bike facilities there.
Yeah.
Or do we want one here for?
That's on the doctor's land,
We've
isn't it?
got one down there.
We've got
We've
one.
got some racks either side of this.
Not covered,
I've
but
never found it.
Well, I guess the question is there anywhere else? Because actually, you know, it would be a shame to not use the funds that we've got available. I know, I do like the idea of Barnwell Park outside the Kingfisher Cafe. I know it's not within your
I
jurisdiction,
think they'd love it.
but actually, you know, certainly they get cyclists visiting there and go to the cafe, so it does make sense to go there.
Oh, how, are we allowed to do that? Are we allowed to donate to the Friends of Barnwell Country Club? We'll be based around us.
12-star system, Mark.
say that again.
Are we allowed to send funds to the Friends of Barnwell Country Park?
It's been allocated
No,
to
we're
those.
not, but you've got more than,
I think if,
They would need to part fund it. They need to fund their third potentially, unless you were.
this council can't fund another
No.
parish.
So you'll have a conversation with them.
Well, I've already kicked off a conversation with Edward about that, so, you know, he would just need to see whether they can actually fund the 1/3 that they would need for their basically. What about the temporary racks for events? Because
Where would they be stored?
I don't have grass on that at the moment.
Where we put them, isn't it?
How,
Well, they could be stored, I'll tell you where they could be stored. They could be stored underneath the stage in Victoria Hall, if you wanted to. So they fold down, you know, I don't know what other storage facilities you've got, but,
Okay.
but that,
You also know about the two theatre groups, whether they'd be happy with that.
well, I'm on one of the theatre groups.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. You already know that they're not going to object
But no,
to you storing those racks.
to be honest, the size of the portable racks, you know, they're not huge. They fold down, and you know, the ones that we buy probably might even come in a bag, so you just put them in a place where they would be out of the way, really. And what we've done now, with your approval, was to just leave up our dressing rooms and things downstairs, underneath the stage, and when we're using it, we can put the racks to one side. We've got a store as well, which everything comes out of for Arundel G&S, goes into the hall, so at that point in time, you know, when we're using the dressing rooms, actually there's another place we can store them.
Right. So
And they would be about £250 each. So my proposal would be to buy, you know, probably 3 of those. Certainly we'll be looking to use them at the Vintage Festival that we're organising. And I think there's another event, the, what's it called, the Peace Games. You heard of the Peace Games now? Okay, I think
what's going on in Arundel, we don't know.
Rowan from the festival office, they're looking to organise. 100 years ago there was the Peace Games, actually on Flatton Field, I think it was
Oh,
originally.
that's right, she did
Or it was a
mention at the
cricket
meeting,
pitch.
yeah.
All
I
right.
think it was a cricket pitch. Yeah.
So just pull us back to this item. We were here to receive an update, which clearly we have. You know, I'm keen that we do something with it, because I've been here nearly a year myself since you and Alison presented this to us.
Yeah.
So we need to move forward to a proposal, don't we, that we can put to the council.
Yeah.
You know, and even if that proposal though is only for 2 racks,
Yeah.
I feel at the moment, rather than try and get the whole picture together, if we can make 2 things happen, let's make 2 happen.
With 2 racks and the temporary racks.
I'd like,
Well, the temporary racks are a little more controversial at the moment, isn't it, based on the storage of them.
Okay.
Yeah, unless, you know, somebody can come up with a neat solution. I mean, if the school could say we could store them, then, yeah, that would be good. Mind you, when we've got a
I'm
workshop-
happy with the temporary ones. I'm much happier with them. They seem to have found an answer to storing them.
Exactly.
And they'll come out, be used for events and be packed away again.
Right,
I'm quite happy with that.
all right.
I'm worried about the 9 square metres of space potentially for the permanent ones is what worries me.
I think you have to bear in mind when, you know, when they're going to be used, you know, where they are behind the bus stop, which I think, you know, we've looked at. Actually, the usual course of things, apart from the market is there, you know, it's not impinging on a normal way.
On a Sunday morning, it's not, that's not used for anything, so there isn't a problem on a Sunday morning, provided that they don't impede the farmers market on a Saturday, the Thursday market, and you know somebody's then installed them on Saturday night or whatever after the market's closed, so they can be used Sunday and then packed away again shortly after, long before the market needs the space. That won't be a problem then.
The only problem I've got with the conversation, Roy, is that we're trying to encourage people to come to town on bicycles, and then saying we don't want their bicycles in the town centre. You know, you can't have the two. You know, if it's 9 square metres that we need for bicycles, you know, they're going to take 9 square metres wherever they go. Otherwise, they don't come into the town. So, you know, I think we've got to bite this bullet and say we want.
How much does a car take?
Well,
You know, one car is
might
probably
be-
6 square metres.
Yeah.
So,
The
Yeah,
temporary
yeah.
ones even.
So that's why I say come back with a
It's all
proposal.
very well,
Yeah.
it sounds great, but there is a cost.
Yeah, but I go back to argument one, you know, that if we want bicycles in the town centre, we've got to put somewhere to put the bicycles in the town centre.
the thing that you'll also see if you go there on a Sunday is that actually a lot of the cyclists will start parking their bikes alongside the street furniture you've already got there, so
Yeah.
that the seats
Yeah.
are actually
You can't
you
use
can,
them.
yeah, because you've got a whole bunch of bikes there, so you can have it both ways.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
So is it possible to get a proposal back then? I'm not looking at you, Ian, I'm afraid. But you've done a little bit on this so far.
When for? So I'm away for the next 2 or 3 weeks, so
Yeah?
it won't be soon.
No, I could just write, what do you need?
Yeah.
Do you need me to say, our proposal would be to have this and this and this,
Yes.
with costs,
Yeah.
and the quotation, we can do that.
Yeah, okay. And if you can pass over that information we've got here on the fundings
Yeah.
we've already taken off ENC.
Yeah.
Is that going to be a level that we can improve at the next estates, or will it be a big enough money that needs to go to full council?
I can't remember what the limit is. I think it's 3,000, but I can't remember for definite.
It'll be less than that, because if we're part funding
It's not
the
too,
rats
but
themselves
Might be
anyway,
two, yeah.
so,
I can't
you know,
remember.
Doesn't it? I think they have to be
You've
approved
got
by full
maximum
council.
6, haven't you? So it's going to be
Yeah.
less than 2.
it will be
Anything
less
above
than,
that,
less than
yeah,
3,000 to be
Yeah.
honest.
Well, if you can do
I'll have
that,
to check with
ready
them
for the
then.
next estate, then we can approve it in this meeting, if we've got, you know, as long as
I'll
we've got
check
something
with
on
them,
the agenda that
yeah.
says, we proposal to spend £2,000 and on
Yeah.
3 racks or whatever it is, then we can approve it then, can't we?
Yes. We could do it in 3 meetings, can't we?
Sorry?
We've got £7,000 to spend.
But I don't think that's the other question, is, you know,
We've got to spend this money by June, otherwise we've got to give it back
Yeah.
to ENC.
Now,
So,
equally, I'll have a look at what we would have spent here. You know, let's do what we've already just looked at to start off with. I just think it might be an opportunity to look elsewhere and see, well, you know, is there something else we can
Is there an
do?
argument we should put something, a covered bikeway or something, a covered bike rack down at Snipe Meadow to encourage people to cycle down there?
Yes, I was just
Walk
yeah,
on the
wondering
next
about
day.
very good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering that.
What's
So-
about co-op car parks, is there anything in co-op?
No, there's nothing.
Well, I'm
The only
aware
thing
of
about that
that.
is, you're thinking about putting it on rugby club property.
Somewhere like that, don't
They lease that from us, we'd have to get their agreement to that. We couldn't possibly sit here and reallocate land that they're paying for from us.
Just
We could put it as part of our build. We could put it as part of our build.
Can I suggest that maybe Ian and I'll get together once.
Yeah.
We'll do this piece
Do that
now.
one.
Yeah.
And
And
then
then why don't Ian and I get together again and just have a look around and see whether we can come up with some alternatives
Before June.
well before June to see whether we can spend the rest of the money.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're going to actually spend it before June.
I'm off
Or
on
tell
the
them we're
13th.
spending it.
So sometime before then.
Fine. You're away on
Is there
the 15th.
something?
we have spent
or something?
You need to get stuff purchased and contractors ordered before June, don't you? That's the thing.
Yeah.
So it needs to be
I'm
done.
sure we can do that.
Well,
do that.
we're still back into January,
Terms
aren't
of
we?
the
So we've got
agreement, this
February,
money
March,
had to
April,
be
May,
used
we've
within
got 4
5
months.
years.
So it's on the
I
next.
presume if it's
Well,
allocated,
I-
we
I-
put the
going
work to
away.
go ahead, that would be
Yeah.
okay,
Somebody in
yeah.
order.
Yeah.
Myself,
I would think so, but I'll check that.
Or something like
I'm
that.
not going to let this money go.
Unexpected. 27th of February,
27th.
unexpected school trip.
Okay.
So I'll leave you to arrange something.
Yeah, we'll get something
Appreciate that, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry it's taken so long.
Well, yeah. Highways were.
And they do come with plan forms, don't they?
Yeah.
Sorry?
They do come with a plan for us, don't they?
Well, I think it was Alison, they're artistic.
Oh, I think it was. I think artistic.
Alison, I mean, I've been on either end of it, you see. Right. Thank you. Right, so back to polo shirts then.
Stay for that.
Terry, you were just about to join in on this one, were you? The hub uniforms.
I just wondered, well, I've written here, this is part of the marketing plan, is it?
This is not part of the marketing plan. This came out of the blue about. I know you guys must have been talking about it, but I haven't heard anything about it.
Yeah, well, the girls were saying about obviously clothing, ruining their clothing and stuff like that, and we were just saying that it would look more professional, protect their clothes. They were also talking about quite often being cold. If they're not in the actual kitchen, they get quite cold with the door opening and closing. So we just discussed it, and Emma just asked me to get some prices together for it.
Okay. Well, I know when I first read this myself, you know, I really felt that we need to make a profit out of the hub before we
Before we
spend
start
any more
doing that.
money.
Mm.
You know,
I
and,
agree.
you know, so
Yeah.
back on, you know, a theme that Terry came in with earlier about project manager for a particular site. You know, we should essentially have one of our staff who is manager of the hub there, who's got, you know, in their remit to turn a profit on the hub. And if they think that, you know, investing in uniforms is going to improve sales, or, you know, you hinted there about, you know, really being needed to keep the staff, then we need to find a way of making it balance in the books with it.
Yeah.
So that's my
I
personal
would
view.
like to
So
suggest aprons might be appropriate.
Well, they
Because
can
they will have the
provide
same
their own on
apron.
occasions, and we ought to be
Yeah.
providing things like aprons and other protective clothing. That's where I was then coming from, is that, you know, protective clothing we ought
I
to
don't think
certainly.
the fleeces is a step too far,
Well,
far too far.
Yeah.
With the argument that you're using, the same reason we need to make some money. Yes.
And putting logos and things on them is a negligible increase in the cost anyway, so. I think the main thing is that we need to supply them with some kit. They shouldn't be wearing their own kit and wearing up their own kit. We should be supplying something for
On
them
an apron.
of a protective nature.
yeah.
And that
That
type
would be a
of work.
compromise too,
Yeah.
wouldn't it? It would
I don't know.
be a step in that direction.
Yeah, I don't know what that compromise means, but is that something we could cost up and look at next month?
Well, the aprons are on here. We've got a cost of the aprons
Yeah.
is on there. That's £15
£15
each.
Second item down.
You want that page?
Oh, I didn't print that one. Yeah, why not?
So just in terms of need then, you mentioned two things, wasn't it? The wear and tear on their clothing and the cold.
Being cold, yeah.
Yeah. So aprons fixes part of that. I just feel that, if we could see a sort of route through, to profitability on the whole, we say, we're doing very well this month, therefore we're going to do this. So take this as an overall sort of ambition, to get it looking like that.
Yeah.
If the girls down there feel that aprons are going to be useful at the moment, do the aprons.
Okay.
If they think that isn't really the issue, then maybe we can have a conversation before the next meeting.
I'd be happy to propose aprons and a couple of polo shirts.
The problem with them with the polo shirts is,
Aprons, please.
Well,
There's a high turnover, and once you start,
yeah.
you've got to, before you know it.
Yeah,
this
that's
is
the
a
one thing
polo
I
shirt.
was thinking that, if they don't stay,
If they don't stay, then the apron's going to be passed on if necessary.
yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
but the problem with polo shirts, as you know myself, they
You've got
only wear them
endless
one
number
day,
of
you don't wash
sizes.
them every day,
Yeah.
so you do need 3 or 4.
Yeah,
So
you can do
two
one's not
two
enough.
doesn't do anything.
No, you're right.
So,
Go for the aprons.
feedback.
So we're gonna say-
Start.
So we're saying aprons for now and then see.
Well,
see how it
aprons
goes.
if they think it will help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
So we're not forcing them to wear aprons. If they think
No.
aprons would help, then fine, go ahead.
Okay.
Well, it will protect their clothing
Clothes,
to
yeah.
quite a large
Yeah.
extent.
So Roy's proposing, who's second?
I'll second it.
We're going to logo them as well.
Aprons, there's our logo
You're
apron.
going to logo your aprons?
Because then it adds a bit of uniformity.
It does, yeah.
So that's 147.
I personally, I wouldn't logo them at the moment.
That's
the-
the logo
no,
in everything,
it's-
including
it's-
3 polo shirts each, so.
No,
It's
it's, yeah, the
separate,
logo
it's separate.
setup is just for 42, so that £15 is including the logo.
Oh, okay.
Is it?
I
Right.
think so, yeah.
No, you set the logo up once
Yeah.
for everything.
For everything, yeah.
So,
So it's a
if you
one-off
make one
thing.
apron or the whole lot, it's still 42.
So
Yeah.
We've got a
Right.
logo.
Well, I'm just
Oh,
going to
is
say
that-
what logo.
There's a hub logo.
Is there a logo?
No, that's...
Yeah, it's the
that's-
orange one.
I thought that we
I've got my
discarded
phone
that
on me.
dancing
The
person.
thing that's like
No,
that.
yeah, we discarded that as a
That's
council a
that's,
long time
I thought
ago.
so, but.
We did.
it's still on all our,
Well, it shouldn't be. We
Yeah.
did actually vote to discard that.
yeah.
To have the council logo on things, not 2 different logos going. Can you look into it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of that at
Yeah.
all. When was that? When did that happen? Before I was
can't tell
here?
you what, yes, before you were here.
Oh.
I can't tell you what month it was.
Oh dear.
Over a year ago.
Club
It was a long
logo.
while ago. Yeah, it was way back.
Right. So Tony, you're seconded the aprons. Yeah. Okay. Everyone in favour? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okie dokie. Oh, dishwasher.
Necessarily bring the rest of it back next month and we'll,
Think about it again. Yeah.
yeah, see what they're going to say about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm quite happy to join in on that conversation. I think I'd like to take part in a big conversation about the hub itself.
Mm.
We're going to, really believe that you guys need to just be put over to manage the place, and you shouldn't have to come back here for everything.
Mm.
The only thing we're interested in is profit.
Profit. Yeah.
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 Yeah, so the cost of coffee, the running of it day to day, should be up to you guys to do.
Mm.
But we do need to see it turn into profit.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
And then the next item buggers up everything. Sorry.
Can I just say, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Oh right. Yeah. You're beginning to sound a bit like Neville. Just be careful.
You could have said something worse, but it'd been a hard try.
Yeah. All right. Right.
Right.
So go on to the dishwasher.
Yes. It's not working properly. Intermittent heating problem apparently. So they were called out, and that is what it's going to cost. Apparently, one of the problem is being caused by the fact that we didn't have a water softener installed. Apparently, but the chappie that came from this company said, "Don't get this company to fit the water softener. You can buy one from somewhere like Nisbets and fit it. You can get a maintenance guy to fit it. He said they're quite straightforward and it's a fraction of the cost. I was going to get a quote on a new dishwasher because when we saw the price we thought, is it really worth repairing it if the same thing is going to happen again? But apparently they're about £2,500 to replace.
Yeah.
I presume it was new when we were here, was it? So it's only
Yeah, I believe
We
yeah,
have
everything was
spent on
new.
it, haven't we?
We have, yeah.
We have
In the
spent
duration
on it.
I've been here, they've been out quite a few times. So
Yeah, endless.
Yeah.
Is it being set up with the right powder or too much powder or too?
well, according to the chap that came out last time, he said it was the not having the water softener that's causing most of the problems.
But that, from what I see here, they wanted to repair a controller.
On the parts,
Yeah,
Mm.
and a water
Control
softener is
unit.
not going to affect a controller.
no pressure sensor.
Just been one thing after another.
So maybe
And have the same people been out every time?
yeah, Hobart think so. Yes.
The manufacturers aren't
Two
they?
different
One thing
blocks.
after another, Terry, and it's not heavily used like, say, the coffee tablets would be.
No,
It's
I mean the
mostly
girls say
concentrated,
it's
yeah.
pretty much in constant use, but
Yeah, but it's not heavy.
no, not heavy duty. I
It's
wouldn't
not
say
heavy
not like
duty.
that.
Have we got a service contract with these people, or does it cost us every time they rock up?
There's a call out.
There's a call out charge every time. I think in the contract, is it this one or is it the coffee machine? I think it was. We've had issues with the coffee machine this week as well, or
I
last week.
think initially we were calling out the manufacturer or supplier of it, and they were proving it very expensive, and in the end we took a contract out with somebody else, I think,
Is this
to
Hobart's then?
deal with call outs, to come
Right.
out, because you couldn't get them out when you wanted them. We went days and days and days with no dishwasher.
So this was after it was out of warranty?
Yeah, we had problems getting them out even in the warranty. We had problems to get them out to deal with it, and they were saying it's not something that's covered by warranty, and they tried everything. We had right battles with them over it. They got us over a barrel that if we argue and say no, it's in the warranty, we're not paying you any extra to come out and fix it. You should fix it within the warranty. If they don't come out, they got us over a barrel, we've got no dishwasher. We've got a hub that's then got to have an extra person in all day washing dishes.
And each time you have it done, you think, right, this is the time. We've now done it. But we never have.
I understand we have a dishwasher in Queen Vic Hall.
Drive all
Can't
the
be doing a
place.
fat lot, can it?
No, when
No.
if you let it to a wedding or something,
Yeah.
at least that's the trouble.
Because we advertise it as a
And
full,
we advertise it
kitchen,
the
don't we?
same.
So what was the proposal, best part of £1,000, was it? We paid £140 to come and tell us it's broken.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and you need another 700 and something.
967 plus VAT.
Yeah.
It's a common story with it.
It is, yeah.
I do wonder whether we ought to think again about a new machine, you know, water softener on a new machine, because if it's constantly calling it out, I mean, it might only be a couple of years old, but is it sensible to keep spending £1,000?
And there's nothing to say that you get this bit fixed and something else goes wrong with it.
Well, if it's only a water softener, they could have worked that out right at the beginning. That's the scary bit, isn't it?
I get the impression that this engineer that came this time was slightly more honest than the rest that have come, because he said to her, don't do it through words, just do it
Well,
yourself.
yes, at least he's trying to help.
Some
That's
of
why I'm not
previous
mentioning the
ones
name.
have said we've got the wrong type of machine in there anyway.
Right.
It's not a heavy duty enough machine that we've got in there
Right.
for the amount of use it gets. And therefore, we've tried to do it on the cheap, and we got what we paid for,
Yeah.
effectively. So it might be that you're right. We go for a commercial grade dishwasher.
This is a good commercial grade. It's a German manufactured
Yes.
machine. It's
I think it
as
is.
far as I can see, it's the best that you can get. You know, the fact it's a control unit that's gone wrong, that's not a wear and tear item.
No.
That's bad engineering. You know, so I'm all for cutting our losses and getting a decent machine in, but not from this company.
Well, particularly if we can get something with a, you know, comprehensive 5-year warranty.
Warranty.
Service,
Service contract.
Yeah.
We just want to put it in and forget about it.
Well, the licorices in Peterborough, I think, incredibly reliable.
Licorices.
Licorice,
I know that
they've been
name.
doing it, yeah,
Mr.
because
Licorice.
they're a quality company.
They're like Warrington Way. Sort of Warrington Way.
I don't know, forget, I just phone, I mean.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's the
Well, the
one
last time he
Twenty.
came out to me, which was about 6 months ago, he said I've had to dig in my archives to find when I last came to you. It was 1993. And that's when he installed a Miele dishwasher that's still going
Oh,
strong.
Miele are good, aren't they?
Who in the
Right.
town would wash the most dishes?
School.
Yes, he talked to
We
us.
have kitchen
Yeah.
devices, big commercial things that you slide trays in inside. I've used them many times.
Yeah.
But they're Hobart, all Hobart, but they're proper industrial units. They take a whole room up.
That's what I was going to ask, who manufactures them?
I can check if there's any change. Do it tomorrow.
Yeah. But it's the sad thing, you know, I thought Hobart was a good company, but certainly we can't carry on at this rate.
Oh, ours is Hobart, is it?
Mm.
Oh, sorry, beg your pardon.
Yeah.
Oh,
Unless it's the wrong machine for the job.
yeah.
Which
But as I say, you know, the bit that's gone wrong
Sensors.
is not a wear component. So if it had been one of the spinning rotary
Yeah.
heads that had
They're gonna
the
wear.
the pump or something, I could understand it. It's a control unit.
That shouldn't have been
And
wrong.
then to come in with a crazy price like that. for
Compared
me.
to the control unit.
Yeah.
I didn't print it off on social.
So shall I get 3 quotes for a replacement unit then?
Yes.
Do you want me to get a quote from Hobart's or not?
Yeah, we'll get a quote for Hobart, but just tell them
I think we
why,
should
you know,
dump
I
them.
think we're
Yeah.
going somewhere
I think
else.
we dump them.
Yeah.
As of
Right.
tonight, we've got a broken dishwasher.
Well, it's intermittent, I understand.
I think it's working, but it sometimes warms up, sometimes doesn't. But the girls are coping, I think. They've not been moaning at all, bless them.
Okay, right.
I'll
So
find
it's
out
not
much more about
Yeah,
ours
well,
tonight.
it is
It's
urgent.
semi-urgent.
Yeah.
We can get a bit of pace on it. It doesn't take too long to get a quote for
No.
this type of stuff.
No.
You know, I've already been on eBay. I know the best you can get is £1,500.
Is that all?
There's a man with a 3-wheeler van that can get one.
3 quotes, 30.
All right.
Okay. Okie dokie.
Courthouse lease. So it said we're to receive a report.
Mm-hmm.
Is there not the request for some the rent on the museum?
That's one of them, yeah.
That's one of the
He wants a longer term.
About this,
He wants up to beyond 20 something, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, the museum would like a long lease because they would like to apply for some grants, and they won't get grants with only a short while left on the current lease.
Okay.
However, it's a question of what sort of a lease they might then end up with, because they're currently paying about £1,700, but when you work out the cost of the proportion of the building they're using, I think that works out at something like about £7,500 of our costs. So we heavily subsidise the museum at the moment. The question is, every other bit of that place is breaking even or making money. The place as a whole is breaking even, or was the last time I did the calculations. With it fully occupied, we would be into a marginal profit. So overall the place is in the black, not in the red. But we've got fair, unless these people are saying that their rents are too high, we've got fair commercial rents. They're not the top rates we could charge, because a lot of them are start-up businesses, but they are what our agent Berries has considered to be a fair rent, commercial rent,
Yeah.
for what they're hiring.
Yes.
berries have been regulating that. But on the question of the museum, it's whether it's where you want to be with it. Do you want to be subsidising them enormously, or do you want to be making them pay their fair share of the building? It's where you want to be with that. So at the moment, I think the museum, the conversations I've had with the museum, the manager of the management team is saying, let's hang on for a bit at the moment, and have a good think about it.
Should we just describe the history here? Because people like Ian probably won't know that the museum was started as part of the town council. So we've always had a situation where we've subsidised it, because it is an arm of the council in some respects.
Right.
So what does longer term lease mean in terms of years?
It's not specified in his letter.
No, it isn't.
They've got something like about 3 years left or something like that.
2020.
Only 1 year left.
Yes, because we've been having this conversation for about 3
We've had
years.
this conversation for a number of years, but I still think they got longer than a year left.
No, I think
Well, it
it's
says
only-
2020, doesn't say whether it's start or the end, so
No.
1 to 2
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
So does longer term mean longer than the current leases, which is due to run out, or?
They want something very long in order to go and get grants. They want something, I think, like 25 years or something.
Yeah,
That's what they're thinking.
Well,
yeah, that's
Oh,
what
yeah.
I thought, but that's
They
what
are.
they're thinking.
Unless they've told you something different, they're talking to me about
Yeah, they were to me.
about very, very, very long leases, and then they can get some big grants from various places to then do things with the museum.
well, as a principle, I'm dead against very round long leases. We've got a huge, not a problem,
We've had
but
that.
down at Occupation Road, it's just a nightmare. And they've got a lot longer than 25 years, I know that, but you know, we just lock in future generations of Hamble Town Council to these long leases, and most of us won't be around.
Yeah, because some, is it the,
Hopefully I might.
You might be.
I might do. Tell my children to look after something.
Well, in
But
a way,
anyway,
we
that's-
could be tough and say, well, okay, we pull out and don't sub you anymore, and you can have your long lease, and then you'll jolly well have to kind of grow up and go and get your own money. Or you have to do it our way.
Well, that would be hugely radical, because if you remember when we were moving from there up to here, and there was talk at one time of selling that place, I mean, they went berserk, and
They
we
did, absolutely. Hence,
backed off big
the
time.
big
So
meeting in St Peters and all the rest of it.
it's a suggestion, but I'm not sure how much it will fly.
No,
But
I'm
personally, I'm not against the original principle of the museum being part of the
And the
town stroke council.
I'm for it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it is valid, isn't it? Because I mean, it wouldn't exist without the financial support. Without the financial support of the council, it wouldn't exist, would they?
No,
Well,
no.
we could write the lease, could we not, in such a way, say we said 10 years, that it still wouldn't put organisations off giving them money, if there was something like renewable in certain circumstances, or, you know, that they continue to be viable, because we don't know how keen they're going to be on keeping it a really going concern. They don't
I
seem
mean,
to
presumably
think
the terms of the
that
lease
way.
would say that if they cease to be financially viable, then you can no longer meet the terms of the lease, then they'd forfeit anyway, wouldn't they? They would.
Have you seen things?
Yeah,
Have
I'm
you
just
seen
thinking
this?
about reassuring potential funders.
And I think you raised a valid point there, because memory serves me well, the people who are running that aren't young either.
John Hammond's in his 80s, I mean, as an example.
So, you know, if they can't find somebody to run that in 2 or 3 years, for example, can they just sublet that to somebody else, and we are kind of, the council's kind of stuck?
Could be.
A couple of them have resigned from the management, they're not resigned from the trustees board, but they have resigned from the management committee, one of them is John, the other one is Keith, the treasurer. They've found a couple of people, I think, to take over, but they're younger, but they're not a lot younger, is the answer.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is a job to find volunteers,
Yeah.
to run anything. We've got a lot of things run by volunteers in this town, and they're all in the same boat at the moment.
I'd like them to spell out what they want.
Is it
5,
worth
10,
us
15, 20 years.
Is it worth us asking for not a business case, but something saying
Something
we'd
like
like
that.
10 years and here's how we'd like to do it? And is it worth us looking at the lease again and seeing what the terms actually are at the moment and how we might change it?
Well, we'll know that, because we'll have a copy of the lease. We'll know what's
Just
in
to say, is it
the
worth
lease.
us looking at it?
So the town essentially is subsidising them by £5,000 a year on the rent on the premises alone, isn't it?
And then they put in for,
Then we get
Grants.
grants as well.
Yeah.
the
We
grants
can
as
grants.
well.
Yeah.
We've helped them out with other things, and we did add up that in the 25 years they've been there, I think the council in the 25 years, has, I think the figure I got to, and it probably isn't the total, probably there's some more on top of that that I don't know about still. It was close to 200 to 250,000 over 25 years that we put in. So, you know, the question is, do you want to be subsidising to that sort of level? Or what do you do?
Well, I think that question is a question for the whole council.
We didn't know what each room was costing in there until I did some costings a couple of years ago and worked out the cost of each room, looking at all the costs involved, and looking at what we get from them to rent each of those rooms, and we got a bit of a shock. We found that one or two people were paying way over the odds, like chat, for two tiny little, well, one tiny room and a cupboard. One tiny room and a cupboard. They were paying 1,000 plus VAT for a tiny room smaller than this. And you know, you got the museum occupying a third of the building at least, and they're paying 1,700. You know, there didn't seem to be any sort of basis to it. So chats came down quite considerably.
Yeah.
We agreed to reduce that to help them, but it seemed wrong for the council to be making profit out of a charitable organisation like youth counselling.
Well, which was also started by the council.
Which was also started by the council, and we've supported that down the years. We give them grants. The others, we've had Berries give us advice on what's a commercial rent for sort of small start-up businesses, bearing in mind that we've not got the greatest of facilities down there, and the prices they've come up with, you know, I think are realistic. They're the experts on what the market can stand. You're not talking about town centre premises there, you're talking about something on the edge of town, so that makes it cheaper. And I think probably what Berries have been charging now for each of those rooms is a realistic rent. And as I say, overall the building is just into the black, and we've always had a couple of rooms empty, but I think we got close. About 9 months ago we got very close to being full occupation, didn't we? I don't know where we are now, whether
Well, Emma and I went to visit Swimex, and he's in room 2 and 4 at the moment.
Yeah.
But he wants his lease is up and he wants to renew, but he's going to condense his operation into one room. So we will have room 2, which is their reception at the moment, which we can paint and get ready.
Yeah.
But we also noticed room 3. Emma said to I think it's Chris Elliott, what's happening in there? And he said, oh, I've got a key to it. He said, but I never use it. When we went in, he'd got some stuff stored in there, a few bits and pieces stored, and then some stuff that apparently is not his and he doesn't know whose it is. So we got John to go and have a look and get it moved out of the way. But Emma said we need to get this room cleared and get this one rented out, because again, it's a decent sized room and it's just going to waste at the moment.
Yeah, so those could be
So
rented
there'll
out.
be
That
two
brings in a
more,
bit
and then we
more
will be
income.
full capacity then, once
Yeah.
those 2 are done.
Mm.
Yeah.
So we've done very well there. I mean,
Very
Berries and the estates management team, the council employees are to be congratulated on the work they've done in getting us tenants in there, and you know, and bringing us into a small profit. Income exceeds expenditure on that building, even with some of the crazy expenditure we've had, like holes peering in the roof and things. We've still kept our head above water down there.
Yeah.
Yes, in fact, the expenses should be lower from now on, because we've done
The roof's been done, the doors and
the
everything, yeah.
repairs.
Yeah.
Jerry, I don't know how to proceed on this one, the museum part.
Well, I think we need a clearer request than we've had, I think, today, don't we? So exactly what time are they looking at?
What
I'm
terms
sure
they
they're
want.
going to say they're quite happy with the price they're currently paying or less, but I mean, but yeah, I mean.
Well, they've got themselves into the hands of a museums organisation, and I think I think some of that is a bit of kind of romanticism going on, and that they could be absolutely amazing if they had a trading arm, for instance, without, you know, let's sell stuff without thinking about it. So I think we've got
So
to
I feel the
make
issue
them
is,
realistic.
yeah, the issue is bigger than just the lease and an extension of
Yeah.
lease.
That's
It's
the
the
point.
town's long-term relationship with the museum that we're talking about.
Yeah.
And that, you know, rather complicatedly goes into our long-term relationship with our property.
Yes,
You know,
does.
so, you know, we've got, you know, the courthouse, which has got potential of coming through to a profitable piece, and Queen Vic, who doesn't have any plan at the moment to come round to profitability. You know, and we've got a museum sitting in the middle of it, you know, and I don't know whether there's three things that can shuffle around and become, you know, good or not. But it's a bit bigger than this meeting. So I think the first bit, as Jerry says, you know, if you can ask them, you know,
Clarify what
they
they want.
think, clarify what they're thinking about as
Okay.
a long-term one. And there's no harm in that conversation, you know, reflecting this conversation that we're having here, you know, about, you know, the continued sponsorship from Ashfield Town Council.
Yeah.
You know, we will at some point in this have to take it back to the council and say this is the long-term future.
Do you want me to take that up? Because I chair the trustees of the museum. So I'll write.
I hadn't realised
Yeah.
that.
Yes, that's what
It's one of the
talking about.
things they don't tell you when you say you're
You're
going
only
to
going to be
until you actually sort of commit
Somebody's
to it.
doing it tonight.
And you suddenly decide you've got a lot of other stuff to do.
Yeah.
Good job you didn't say so, the trustee.
I'll get in touch with John and ask
Okay.
him to clarify.
I was going to say, I do see him on, like,
Clarify, I'll get a bit of dialogue going with him and see if we can get closer. But I mean, yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Because unless the council's going to do a U-turn in terms of long-term support for the museum, then we're kind of committed to continuing to support them, aren't we? But it does. I mean, the questions people are raising is very valid. Is what is their medium to long-term business plan? Because you know, who's going to be taking it forward in the future?
They've had consultants in, met with the management committee, and they're trying all sorts of things, and the Midlands development, the museum development, East Midlands, gave them a small grant which they've used for this terminal that they now monitor visitors to the museum, so they can try and assess, you know, what type of people are coming and what their interests are, and then use that to target their activities. But they are well, we're being encouraged by MDEM to try and look at how they could modify their activities, I think, to bring in more income, extend their activities, put on more displays for the public, and, you know, make the whole thing work better.
I think that's happening.
Well,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
great, but the best in the world, they're never going to become commercially.
No.
You simply don't get enough people coming in.
No, I get that, but I like the attitude.
Yeah.
So you know, personally, I feel, you know, the museum should be much closer to the schools, you know, and should be, you know, intertwined with the school.
They
curriculum.
do work with us.
Yeah, but I'm talking about more.
Only as much as they
Yeah.
You say more.
As much as
Yeah.
they can.
When you say more, I mean,
Schools have-
I contacted the schools and arranged that when you have new pupils, especially Oundle School, when you've got new pupils coming, year one, you know, or people joining it later than year one, and you do the induction week at school, you know,
They don't have an induction.
whatever you do, that as part of that, the head agreed it, you know, said yes, we will make it part of that, that they will have a visit to the museum. So they learn a bit about Oundle and Oundle
Historically say they never got to the history department.
and
Hand on heart and
We'll let
Yeah.
Joe take this one. Right. And then on the other ones then, the beginning of this, with the various changes in leases and so on. I mean, I'm assuming in here, you know, back on the theme of the meeting, you know, giving you and Emma, you know, charge to work out what the rent should be.
Yeah, with
yes,
berries.
we know they want to keep the current rent.
Because they do.
Yeah, and you know that they're no longer start-up businesses,
Yeah.
because they've been renting off us for a year or so.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's time to put some change on that rent, isn't it?
yeah.
But leave that to you and Emma to work out what you
The
think.
one that's popped up as well that we found out this week whilst talking to the rugby club about the buses that were parked on their premises and also about the workshop. He asked me, he said, what's happened about our lease? And so I said, I don't know, I'll find out for you. Went to check with Emma. Emma couldn't find anything in our
Right,
records.
yeah.
Although apparently there was discussions about 18 months ago, nothing was ever done about it. So that's another one that
You're
we've
on
got
the
to
case then.
chase. Yeah, we've got to get. But they want to
It was all
2066.
It's
It was all agreed. Yeah, it was all
It's all
agreed.
agreed, yeah.
But nothing happened after
We
that,
didn't do it, all right.
unfortunately.
Okay.
So
Well, what, somebody didn't issue the,
We're under new management now,
yeah,
so.
nothing.
Okay,
Yeah, we don't know. We couldn't find anything.
good.
it was in Emma's time.
Yeah.
She must know.
I think maybe Hanneke was. I think it was probably during the handover, and because I said if it was when Hanneke left, then maybe it got missed. But
Right.
I'm not sure. But we're on it now anyway. But apparently they want 2066.
Now you've mentioned that, can I just report something that, so try and keep this short. All started with the buses, da-di-da-di-da-di-da. I spoke to Emma, and during the course of our conversation, it was unclear to me as to whether we would have unfettered access to our workshop should the rugby club decide that they didn't want us in there one day for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So potentially we're looking at spending several £1,000s, and somebody somewhere can say, sorry mate, you're not going in there this week. So Emma looked at the lease and says that's not the case, a long story short, so that's fine. But again, during the course of the conversation I had with her today, she's saying, well, I can't find this, I can't find that, can you remember? Well, that's no good.
No.
So I suggested to her that you and she actually get something together about all those properties down there and all the different things that somebody, you may remember, but that's not good enough. It needs to be in the system
Yes.
here so that, you know, you can just pick it up
Look at it and
without trying to get hold
Work
of somebody
it.
who's
I
been
know,
on the
yeah.
council 30 years.
Okay, so a review of the occupation road leases then. You're saying they're all in the same sort of boat.
No,
It's-
they're not. I mean,
No, it's an ongoing thing, because some of them go on like till, God knows when. I mean, Noah's flood will become before
They're
that.
all 2066 because the rugby club was brought in line with the other two.
Yeah.
And one of those you brought in when you were on estates previously.
Right,
And that was tennis club in line, I think, with bowls club.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So it's got put somewhere then. Yeah.
But the longevity of them.
That was
is
all
not-
documented and-
Yeah. No, you're saying the
That
longevity.
goes back on 2014, 2015 when we agreed that
Right.
on
No,
estates.
it was all sorted. So
For them to have a lease till 2066.
Yeah.
And so the rugby club was saying, why have the other two got it and we haven't? So we said, okay, 2066 on condition we have our workshop down there, and part of that was we can go to our workshop whenever we need to.
Indeed.
we have access to it.
So
Indeed.
the only question I know that they raised when we were looking at the siting in the workshop was that on the rugby match days, which was Saturday or Sunday, wasn't it? They put the coaches alongside, and we've located it in such a way.
Yeah.
We can't get in and out because the coaches are there, but it was understood.
Yeah. There's something else that's come out of that conversation I had with Emma, is that we don't know who's responsible for the road.
Oh, leading to them. That's interesting.
Mm.
The road,
The
the
road.
occupation road itself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's something.
We'll follow that one up.
Because we're on
Well, again,
Anyway, not
Nobody
for now,
knows.
Not for now, then.
No.
We'll leave that
and
one.
the school on the other side, so it's a
Right.
question of whose road it is, I suppose.
I think it's ours.
CCTV cameras. Yeah. Can I ask one question at the beginning of the CCTV? Have we ever done anything with anything we've recorded on them?
Tried to. I've sat and watched God knows how many bits of.
Is that when
Time scale,
When you want to go
and
to
just-
bed and you can't get to sleep? It's,
They're dismal. They're absolute waste of time because they pan round. The only, I think, one out of about maybe 8 incidents that I've been asked to view by the police, only one of them actually captured any information that was of any relevance and any help to the police. Because they pan round, they obviously miss if they pan round at the wrong time.
So are these
There used to be a control
Wrong
room,
direction,
and they
yeah.
were controlled.
Will you be able to go?
And then
Yes.
that all
Whereas
collapsed.
at the moment
And
it's
focus, yeah.
yes.
So it's left them.
The chap that came to give a quote last week, and we haven't got his quote, hopefully it should come in within this week. The system they've got, which is really good, I think, while there's lots of traffic, it'll just focus as normal. But then, say 2 o'clock in the morning, when there's hardly any traffic, if a car moves past, it will zoom in automatically on that car,
Yeah.
which
Turn in the morning.
is yeah, because
Yeah.
on that premise that, you know, anybody that's hanging around or doing stuff at that time of the day when nobody else is
Yeah,
around is probably up to something. So yeah,
Get
I'm
the
not
ways
sure I
out,
might
Jerry.
have. Yeah, I'm not sure I want to view the footage. To be fair, based on that, but
What are you doing?
So do these super duper cameras take away the problem of the existing cameras?
yeah, apparently they take all directions
All times.
simultaneously. Yeah, at all
It says
times.
on one of them they've got a manual focus. Does that mean it's set and then it
Yes.
stays, or you have
Yeah.
to focus it manually?
Yeah. So when I saw it, you know, you could get it down to, well, I think it was a 7 metre band or something like you zoom out from it. But yes, he would set
So you
it
set it on
depending.
what is
Yeah.
there.
But the other one sounds a bit more useful.
Mm.
So in terms of what you want us to do now then, you haven't finished with getting quotations?
No, well, I thought we would have, but he's not come back to us. I think Emma chased him today. So
Do you want us to approve
to
the cost
agree.
today, or are you going to work?
Well, we think it's because I think Emma's shown, I don't know whether she's shown him this, but I think she's told him roughly what we're aiming for. So it'll be roughly round about this amount. So to agree to actually replace what's existing with these better quality cameras.
Okay.
And then it was the chap that came last week that actually suggested the second point, which was to discuss with maybe the police, maybe even the school and the co-op, for certain hotspots that they think may be required additionally on top of replacing these.
Extra.
Yes.
Could that be done piecemeal later on?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be done now.
No.
So if we keep this clean,
Mm.
yeah, we'll look at this contract. Yeah?
Yeah.
So just a couple of things I got out of the contract. Yeah, the one was, you know, the bit about making yourselves fully aware of the requirements of this British standard on the legal parts. That seemed to be over to us to do, so somebody in the council needs to take that on board.
What page is that on?
Page 2 should be noted, in order to fully comply with the BS 7958 and something else, we advise you to register your CCTV system and make yourselves fully aware of the requirements within the Data Protection Act.
Right, okay.
Yeah. And then the other one that concerned me a little bit in it, and it's like just being sensible. Yeah, it was just that the bit about the preventative maintenance visits.
Mm.
And they said all labour and equipment is chargeable. So, you know, I suppose it's back into the same with the dishwasher, is it? That they come and have a look at it and you say that's broken. It's not what we would like, I think, is a service contract, isn't it?
Well, they seem to suggest different levels.
Yeah, but
There's
none
no
of the levels,
costing of what
Yeah.
they are.
none of them seem to be a service contract.
Which
No,
page
yeah,
is
The
that?
level 2 star was just the same as the you pay for it, plus will come out on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, 5 to 7
Which is
days.
not the issue.
We had a service contract at one time
With the existing one?
with, what do we call them? CVL.
I don't know.
We did.
We did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we did.
So it's only a case of whether that service contract was worded like this here. Did it
I can't
actually-
remember.
Yeah. But I feel just in terms of quotation, you know, from past record in history, we'd be better off having something that actually covered all the costs.
And going back to your first point, which I can't remember what you actually said. Something like it's got to comply with data protection.
I'm not saying anything.
No, that's what it was. There's a policy and procedures manual somewhere.
Yes, there is.
All right.
Well, when that was drawn up, it was certainly compliant.
Was it?
Yes, now,
Okay.
what's changed?
GDPR has changed.
It
Well,
might
yes,
be
it
a good
has, yeah.
idea just to check with the police that it's compatible with what they
Data protection.
require,
One
when
knows
they,
what they need.
because that's one of the problems we've had, hasn't it, been with what we were left with when the system was abandoned.
When you say you're watching this, are you watching it on your own? I'm not trying to get a date here. Do the police come and request it and look at it with you?
The police have to put in a form and request it, and then generally they sort of ask us to scan through it to see if there's anything usable, which if it's not a huge amount of time, then I quite often will do it for them. But like one of them said it was an incident that happened between 6 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the evening. And I just said, well, you're going to have to come and download that and take it away and view it, because we just haven't got the people to do that.
No, exactly.
But if like the other day, it was a half an hour window from 2:45 till 3:15. So I just put it on double time and watched it. It was fine, and it showed absolutely nothing.
I'm not sure I'm happy with that at all.
No.
One, I'd question whether it was legal that you look at it and say to the police yes or no. And two, they're supposed to be upholding the law. I know we want a nice town, but we're forking out money for the cameras.
The thing is, though, on 2 occasions where I've actually said you're going to have to come and retrieve this information yourself, they've just never turned up. So,
All right, so I think it's in our interest to do this. We know that we've got police of our own town, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah.
There was one clause in here that said we were responsible for and compensate the company against all liabilities, claims, losses or expenses we suffer, of course. Well, sounded a little bit too much for us to be liable for that lot. That was page 11 at the bottom of that.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I know I will never read my credit card contract because I've never used the video. I listen to what they're saying there. Okay,
Too small to read.
Ponting,
So we're not,
Sorry.
we're not making any
we can't.
resolution on that because we haven't got the information yet. Okay,
No.
Just checking.
So just to recap, you want me to check with the police that these systems are compatible, or they're happy with them, satisfy what they need, and also to sort out about a service contract and
Yeah.
what the cost of that is going
Yeah,
to
see
be.
what the maintenance contract looks like. I mean, if it comes out to a crazy number, then we can just go back to what they're offering.
Yeah, okay. Okie dokie. Yes, Bunting.
Can I just express the fact I hate bunting? So. I'm not the best person to be involved in this conversation.
You should have declared that to the start of the page.
Well, I was wondering.
Can I just ask about the old bunting? I mean, we've got no comeback again on the people we bought this from. It's not fit for purpose, is it? But we've just given up on
I mean, I haven't phoned and complained, I must admit, but I just, when I was looking through the records, that's why I printed these other two bits off, because I was astounded that the bunting that lasted 10 years, so it was
Yeah.
replaced 10 years ago, cost 550,
Yeah.
and then we've like halved the budget this time, which like you say, exactly, you get what you pay for.
I mean, the one that that's quite. That's what we bought last time, is it?
2000, isn't it? Yeah.
This thing, this Amazon Council quote dated 2017. This is what the stuff we actually bought, is it?
Yeah, yeah,
Which it says suitable for long-term outdoor use.
yes,
Did you
Yes.
like
Well, by long-term,
It is suitable.
a fortnight, as long as it doesn't rain.
It's suitable in different pieces.
I think, can I just make a comment as well? The new it might be the lights people, but I'm noticing that on quite a lot of the buildings there are strange plates and hooks appearing where people have, it may be the lights even. We have to be very careful because that is breaking the planning laws.
they're all supposed to be taken down, aren't they, and removed, everything.
Yeah, but all the metal, and you shouldn't drill into the stonework of the buildings.
Well, these
You
were
can
these
only
are put
drill
up
in-
using all the original fixtures. There was
Yes,
no extra
these probably
fixtures.
were. It may
Yeah.
have been the lights people, but I did notice that we're contravening the planning regulations. As a council, we shouldn't be doing that.
The ones that are rubbish are neither of these two people who quoted, are they?
No, it's that. That's
It's
this
these
one.
people.
Yeah,
What's going on then?
that's
Then they're
So-
miles under, aren't they?
So we haven't actually got a quote for a new proper.
no, because the proposal was, Emma said, see whether they want to give this a go and see if it'll stand another. But bearing in mind, this bunting new last year only went up from the 1st of July to September, so it wasn't up very long. The bunting this year, they want it up for the festival, so we need it up for March.
July to September, it didn't even get wet.
No, it was quite blowy. I know, because when we took them down, they're all really twirled round, but they still should stand that. I mean, that one there, that was the first, was that the first one that broke? There was the strand from the town hall to Bramston, that was the
Correct,
first one that
was
broke.
the first one that broke.
And then the one from Cottons across the other way
Right.
broke. But like I say, when it came down, we didn't get it put back up again because there were so many flags hanging off. I just thought it's just going to look ridiculous. So do we take the chance and put it up? I have checked the rest of it, and I will check it again because we've got to bag it all up and get it all nice and neat again, ready if it is going to go up, which I won't do if you obviously say we might get some other. But I don't know. I don't know what you want to do.
I mean, based on the pictures, it looks like it's utter rubbish. I mean, that's the point. Spending money putting it up, it's going to be falling down.
I mean, the rest of the stuff, it doesn't look as bad as this.
Right.
I did check
Photograph
the
the
lengths.
bad
It's,
bits.
yeah, I photographed the bits that fell down. But
So what have these people said about it?
I've not gone back to them yet.
So I would tend to go back to them first.
Well, what I was going to do, if you said use it again, I was going to go back to them and say we need a couple of lengths replacing free of charge because we only had them up for a few
Yeah.
months.
Yeah.
That's if we were going to go with putting
Yeah.
this back up again.
Well, try that and see.
Yeah, I'd try that and see.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be interesting for them to discuss
A
with
couple of lengths is a bit, let them get away with something.
It's, well, it is a little bit, isn't it,
This is a
really?
load of rubbish, bring us another lot.
Yeah, I could try to replace the whole lot.
You can only say no.
Yes,
Yeah.
right, absolutely.
Is it worth asking whether they've got any different quality bunting available? Maybe they've got a...
This is rubbish, what are you going to do about it, Mr Splatt?
Industrial.
I mean, the quote for the other one,
Yeah.
the 550, that was when I think Gwen Radcliffe told me she organised it, and although it was very faded,
Yeah.
it was still all intact, but that was cotton. It was
And
cotton.
with respect, we used to lend it to places like Warmington to put up when they
Yeah.
had it.
We can make money.
Yeah,
Really
but it was cotton, so even when I saw it, although the colour had gone, it was
Yeah.
still all
Yeah.
intact.
Well, I think it's worth going back to the original supply, see if they've got
Yeah,
any different,
okay.
different offerings.
And quality.
And then maybe we can get them to discount the cost of our original lot of the better stuff.
Oh,
maybe.
Okay, yeah.
Let's vote with the comments, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd rather just get them to do it free and go somewhere else.
I think anybody who's got the job title Christmas here
selling us
Christmas here.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, no, true. But if he has a better quality of
Bunting
quality.
always goes up outside, doesn't it?
Oh yeah,
Well,
it's
sure,
really
sure,
keen
sure.
to- yeah. They try and do like fun things, don't they?
It has to be fit for purpose.
There's a whole industry set around disposable this, that and the other. You know, those people that do the NEC and all those exhibits, you know, they put the carpet down, you know, it only goes up for the week of the show.
Yeah.
You know, there must be a whole load of bunting that's designed only for that. It's supposed to go.
Show and bin. Yeah.
Try them first, give them a
Okay.
chance to
Redeem
win
themselves.
back our
Indeed.
favour. You know, and get a different quote. You know, do agree with the general sentiment here. There's no point in putting it off because it's going to come
No.
back again.
No.
The thing about the cotton bunting as well is that it's not so noisy.
Mm.
And there are a lot of people who live in the marketplace
That say it's
particularly,
flapping around.
who actually don't like the noise
Mm.
of the bunting flapping all the time.
You just don't like
Just don't like
bunting.
it anyhow. My wife makes it.
Was it you that pulled them down? You handed off
I would
I
have
bet
pulled
it
a lot
was,
more
wasn't
down.
it?
I would have pulled a lot more down than just those. Than you wanted.
You've got one of those whip aerials on the bicycle with a knife on the end of it. It's-
Yeah, I'll be on the CCTV camera and I go,
Yeah.
don't zoom in on me.
Right,
Right.
close to the end now. Sorry to take more conversation I was planning for, but good. Notice board on West Street.
Well, again, we've done all this before as well. I think last time we said
It's not ours.
it's not ours. It's not our house that he's stuck to, so we need to go and get in touch with the owner of the property and see whether they're happy to have a new board put up. And I
Okay.
think we said last time, I may be wrong, but I think we said last time, you know, we'd be prepared to put a new board up if you know, this is,
Yeah.
you know, no one else is going to do it if we don't do it, and it
Well,
needs doing.
on reflection, I don't know why we don't take it down.
Mm.
Who's
Well,
It's not-
we've
it's not
got
ours.
the
Just over the road.
electronic thing now.
But it's also not ours to take down. It's not
Yeah,
our board.
yeah.
That's when I look at it on the way up
Yeah.
here now. And it's full of new notices, but it's not, I think it's from when it was adopted.
It is well used. It's a
Yeah,
well used
and
board.
it's not
So
ours to take down or put up unless. we want
at a
to.
resident, it's a resident who has actually offered if we pay for the materials, he's happy to repair it. But again, that's I don't know whether.
See the resident that owns the house.
No.
No, it's like someone talking about notice on my house.
So you want me to go and knock on the door of the people
Somebody
and
lives
ask
there.
them?
I think he lives here after.
I think I know.
But sorry, just on the general consensus, is it repair it or take it down? You know, my view is it's right opposite the Queen Vic. And we've got notice
It's
boards.
quite a long way down actually. It's opposite Kiki Sam's.
But anybody walking past that, been past the Queen Vic?
Do we put stuff on
Yeah, as
there?
long as we keep
Not
the Queen
really.
Vic.
No.
I don't.
No.
So it's not ours.
It's
We
not
don't
ours.
use
Everyone
it.
else
We
uses
don't
it.
probably use it. It's-
And the only other thing I would say as well, it might discourage if you take that one away, we'll get even more people forcing their posters into the Queen Vic Hall one. Because if you bend it in a certain way, they can get their poster in.
Well, we should maybe mend the bit.
We should be, yeah, that'll be probably on a,
Smart
one
up
soon.
and mend it.
I would be for washing our hands of it personally.
Our hands are washed though.
Yeah, there's no party whip on
They're not
this
near
one,
it.
so other views, Roy?
I think we should wash our hands of it.
Yeah, well.
Ditto.
yeah,
But I'd like to
It's not-
sort
it's not
the
ours to wash our hands
one
of.
up,
Absolutely.
make
So-
it tidier and better.
Yeah. So I think, you know, it's not ours, you know, general consensus.
so we're just leaving it.
Well, I think we need to talk to the house occupier.
Right, okay. See what they want to do.
Occupier or owner, you know, and say, you know, we wouldn't oppose him if he took it down.
Okay.
And likewise, if the guy that wants to build it, we wouldn't oppose him if he wants
If
to
he
build
wants
it.
to knock on the door and.
Yeah.
Knock on the door and, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
All right.
I tell you, because where the other posters have gone, that used to be, is in the entrance to the Talbot. You see, well, they've got rid of all that
Mm.
space now.
Mm.
That was much used and in a good place.
Yeah. Right. Any other business?
And this is for this meeting and the council meeting, full council meeting. At one time we had a to-do list of things that we said we'd do on the meeting previously, run through it, you know, being done, not being done because somebody's sick, carry it forward, whatever it is,
Yeah.
so that things are not kind of left, just left and forgotten. Is it possible to do that? Do people think it's a good idea?
What I, just to let you know, what I tend to do on my planning meeting minutes is I usually put who has said they will do what as an action point on the end.
Yeah.
But what we also,
Is that enough
I
or?
don't think it is. I think Sherry's absolutely right. I think what we need is to be carrying forward a list of actions that people have taken. So, like, you know, the only one I've written down for myself is I'll contact the museum trustees. So you need to be coming back at the next meeting with
Jerry, what did you do?
what did you do?
Yeah.
Have those action points. That way maybe people do this.
Get serious now.
Going forward. Okay.
So that should be an agenda item then, actions from previous meetings.
Is there a matters arising section already, or is that?
Yeah, it is matters arising, the old words that you used to use.
Yeah, that's what we saw. I saw using those.
What word did you say?
Matters arising. So if someone said, Ian, you said to do this, have you done it?
Yeah.
No. Okay. Not really.
Yeah, I know. I mean, other similar forms I've been in, they've done them, you know, carried along through, and then just keep. Yeah, and the list is getting too long. The chairman's job's to.
Concentrate your mind if you've not done it for 3 weeks.
Officially close the meeting and then I'll
Yeah.
turn